I'm an outsider. I'm heterosexual. I'm married. I love my wife. I have 2 kids. I'm not sure what society is. I see the conflict as an internal one, conditioning. I grew up in a very bigoted household. There were Italians that you weren't supposed to talk to, and heaven forbid you should associate with blacks, and the fairies. We didn't have a picture of Jesus hanging on the wall, but if we had a picture, it probably would have been John Wayne. And that's the way I was brought up. The first time I met anyone who was gay was in the service, in the military, in Vietnam. And that wasn't the kind of place where you befriend someone like that. So it was a conflict.
What did you feel when you met this person who was gay, coming from this background that said difference is... I mean, what I hear you say is that difference is not okay.
There was a fear factor. I mean, you certainly didn't want to be in the shower.
Right, because he might be interested in me.
All the innuendos that I had been brought up with.
Stereotypes. Right.
Exactly. And another stereotype was racial, with blacks. Well, I found out that a lot of the guys that I put my life on the line for and put their lives on the line for me in Vietnam were black. And they were really great people.
So there was a breakthrough in terms of your personal experience.
Exactly.
But what happened back with this gay person, if you would? How did you handle him?
Well, he was in another battery in the artillery, but we all knew.
Right.
It was one of those things. That was the first time that I ever really had to confront the fact that there were gay people, and they weren't all flighty, artistic types.
That was the image, that they were all going to be flighty and artistic.
Their purse was the way it was explained to me. Well, when I found out that I got a lot of misinformation with blacks, that blacks weren't the way they were portrayed, then I started wondering, well, what's the deal with gays? So it becomes an inner conflict. It's how do you relate? And I think the other gentleman mentioned that, or maybe it was you, that if you talk to gays and are supportive, then you could be considered to be gay.
Somebody might think you are.
Oh yeah, and especially I'm tall and thin. I've been people look at my wedding ring and say, oh, well, I'm glad you're married. I mean, it's a very confusing kind of a, well, what do they think about me kind of a feeling. So I guess what I'm trying to say is the society that I see as being anti-gay, anti-black, anti-Hispanic, whatever it is, it's not a movement. No one's ever approached me and said, well, where do you stand on this? It's an internal kind of a thing.
So where are you now on the issue? Do you have close friends who are gay?
I really don't know that I have close friends that are gay. We don't. Guys don't talk about things like that.
No, guys don't often talk about things like that. And I notice that, and when I'm speaking to an audience in the workplace, and I'll talk about the fact that sometimes guys, heterosexual men, when they find out that a close friend is gay, if you had been accustomed to hugging that person in the past, which some men are becoming more comfortable doing, that suddenly there was this concern that, is this a hug or is this a hug? I mean, what kind of a hug is this anymore? Because now I know you're gay. And one of the things that I think we have to acknowledge over and over again is this anxiety is normal. This fear is normal, and it's normal because no one did explain in your home to you who gay people were, and that gay men if they know you're heterosexual, my feeling is that gay men aren't going to be interested in you as a hetero. They may find you attractive, but they're not going to be attracted to you. But if no one's ever sat down and talked with you about that, there's got to be some anxiety about it. So what I want to propose to you, and we keep saying this, and I don't think we can say it often enough, is that ignorance or lack of exposure, like you had in your own home, is the enemy. Is that what people generally feel frightened by are the things that no one's ever talked to them about. And this is true. I know you've heard me say this perhaps in the past, but if you've been to a foreign country and not known the language, your anxiety is high when it's time to order off the menu. If you're around someone whose religion is different than you, who dresses differently than you, whose behavior is different than you, and no one's ever explained it to you, your anxiety goes up. If you had a disabled person, a person with a disability, and you don't know how to shake hands or hug, whatever, your anxiety goes up. I think that's the bottom line here. I don't think it's about society having it in for gay people. And I don't think it's about born-again fundamentalist Christians having it in for gay people, although I think their leadership often gets them all wound up on it because it is an effective way to raise money, and it's an effective way to keep keep people in line. But my experience has been that most people are thoroughly decent, and most people, like yourself, want to do the right thing, but no one's ever taught them how to do the right thing.